Canon and Fujifilm strike back in the last 2 weeks of August. But what happened to the Nikon Z8, and is Sony still king? And while the Canon EOS R5 isn't in the top 10 this week, you can save $800 on the Canon EOS R5 at this popular US retailer. Stick around after this short break for all the details, but first, subscribe to this channel for a chance to win a Canon EOS R5. I'll be giving one away to one lucky subscriber once this channel reaches 100,000 subscribers. Anyone above the age of 18 with a valid mailing address is eligible. Additional terms and conditions are linked in the description down below. Yodobashi is the 4th largest camera retailer in Japan with 28 retail stores like this one here. They report their sales numbers every 2 weeks, giving us an idea of which cameras are in stock and moving out the door. And while this information is limited to the Japanese market, it does give us something to talk about on an otherwise slow Sunday. Alright, it's time to guess who's in the #1 spot. Can you guess? I'll give you a hint. This camera's been in the #1 spot more than any other camera. That's right, the Sony a7 IV. And I've actually got good news for you if you've been thinking about getting this camera but don't want to spend $24.99. Well, it's on sale right now, $200 off at B&H for their Build Expo, so you can purchase it online for $22.98. That's $200 off. But now I want to talk to you about another sale that kind of eclipses this. The Canon EOS R5 also on sale at Build Expo for $800 off. That's right, $800 off. That's a pretty impressive deal. We've seen deals similar to this, but $800 off. The Canon EOS R5 drops the price from $38.99 all the way down to $3,099. That's a pretty impressive sale. You don't get a free battery grip with it, but still, that's pretty impressive. The best deal we've seen since the Canon EOS R5 has come out in July of 2020. So if you're interested and you're thinking about this price and you held off purchasing the Canon EOS R5 a couple of months ago when it was on sale, $500 off with a free battery grip, and you wished you had gotten that deal, go ahead and purchase it right now, because Build Expo is, I think today's the last day, so you want to go ahead and purchase it before they run out of stock. The Canon EOS R5 body alone, $800 off, so pretty impressive. So back to that #1 spot, we have the Sony a7 IV. It's been doing very well since that camera was released to the marketplace back in, what was it, December of 2021. So since then, not only has Sony managed to sell a very popular camera, but they've been able to produce enough of this camera to constantly keep it in the top 3, with most of the times it being in the top #1 position with 2 different bodies or 2 different kit forms, the body and then with a kit lens. So pretty impressive there. And for the #2 spot, it's not a Canon, it's not a Nikon, and it's not a Sony. We have the Fujifilm X-T5 in the #2 spot, and what this is showing is that the Fujifilm X-T5 can move out the door if Fujifilm can manage to produce enough of them. And in 3rd place, we have the Canon EOS R50, an APS-C camera that sells for $679 body alone. In 1st place, we have a Sony, 2nd place, we have a Fujifilm, and in 3rd place, we have a Canon. No one camera is taking over. And I think this is a good camera to show up in the top 3 in the #3 position. The Canon EOS R50 offers great value as a stills camera, and with 6K over sample 4K, it's a very solid video camera as well. I highly recommend this camera. However, if you're planning on doing live streaming or using it for a channel, then you do want to take a look at some of the other information, because some people have, well, had problems with the capabilities. They're not too happy with the outcome and the performance, but as a go-anywhere camera, as a travel camera, as a video camera, for somebody who's starting out in photography that isn't planning on doing live streaming, I think it's an excellent camera. Now in 4th place, we have another APS-C camera, not from Sony, not from Canon, not Fujifilm. We have a Nikon, our first Nikon on the list, and it's the Nikon ZF-C, a retro, cool-looking camera, not to be confused with the Nikon ZF, a full-frame camera that's supposed to be coming out and announced on September the 20th. I really do like these retro-looking cameras. It's just something about it. And I know I shoot with a Canon EOS R5, so I obviously don't like retro cameras enough. But when I was looking at getting a new camera to replace my Canon 70D back in 2019, well, the Fujifilm X-T3 is one of those cameras I looked at. The silver one, that retro look, because I don't know, maybe I'm a sucker, because I'm old, maybe I'm a sucker for things that take me back to a better time. Not a better time because society was better, because the economy was better, because the world was better, but because that was my youth. Because when you're in your youth, things just seem to be better. You're positive about everything. Things are black and white. It's a very different world than seeing it through the eyes of somebody old. In fifth place, we have the Canon EOS R6 Mark II, a camera that was announced just after the announcement of the Sony a7 R5 on November the 2nd, 2022. And this camera's done quite well. It's performed quite well. It's a much bigger improvement over the Mark I, but again, Canon's problem with this camera has been getting enough of them to the marketplace. But here, in the last 2 weeks of August, we can see that the Canon EOS R6 Mark II is doing very well. Not only does it show up in the 5th position, but it shows up in 6th place as well. So in 5th place, we have the Canon EOS R6 body alone for $24.99. And in 6th place, we have the Canon EOS R6 Mark II with the 24-105 f4. And in 7th place, we have our second Nikon, the Nikon Z50. It's also on sale at Build Expo over at B&H. $50 off for $806.95. And if you don't want to get the body alone, you want to get a kit package, well, they also offer discounts on those as well. But now for 8th, 9th, and 10th position, and they're all Sonys. Yes, this week, Sony's been hiding in the basement. We have many Sony cameras. The first up in 8th place is the Sony a6700. This is with the high-powered zoom kit. The body alone is $13.98, and the a6700 was announced not too long ago, so it's selling quite well. And then, of course, in 9th place, we have the Sony video-centric camera, the FX3, which is based off of the Sony a7S III, a really terrific camera. I think it's terrific value, but I think what offers better value than the FX3 is the FX30, an APS-C version of the FX3 for less than half the price at $17.98. And then in 10th place, we have the Sony a6700 again. It's not a mistake. This is the body alone, and what we saw in 7th place again was with that high-powered zoom kit. So Sony's doing quite well, again, with 4 cameras in the top 10, although 3 of them were in the basement. What I like about this week's top 10 is that we're seeing, well, more varied, more cameras in the top 10. We're seeing Fujifilm. The top 3 isn't dominated by any one company. And what that tells me is, well, the health of the market. We're seeing more companies being able to keep up with demand and more companies being able to ship products out there, because Sony's been dominating since, what was it? Going back to, I think, late spring. Ever since then, Sony's been dominating the top 10 with 5 cameras, 6 cameras, 4 cameras, dominating the top 3. The Sony a7 IV has usually been in first place. And the Nikon Z8 came out and disrupted things a little bit. The Canon EOS R6 disrupted things a little bit. But predominantly, Sony's been dominating, and I'm not exactly sure the reason. I'm curious to get your thoughts. I think it has to do with companies being able to produce enough cameras to keep up with demand. We've definitely seen that with the Nikon Z8. We've seen that with the Canon EOS R7 and the Canon EOS R6 Mark II. And of course, Sony's been doing very good at doing the opposite of getting enough cameras out to the marketplace. So when we see one camera dominate, remember, these sales figures are for 2-week trending periods. So every 2 weeks, the numbers can completely change, and they do. And what we used to see last year in 2022, we'd see Canon dominate one 2-week period or 1 month, and then Sony would dominate for the next 2-week period or the next month. This time around, Sony's been dominating. I think one of the other reasons for that is, well, the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, we're expecting a refresh, and a refresh is scheduled. It's normally every 3 to 4 years, and of course, July of 2024 would mark 4 years. We're already at the 3.5-year mark, so we are kind of expecting, according to the Camera Insider, an announcement sometime in February, which would put it in place of CP+, which happens towards late of February. And of course, the Canon EOS R1 is also due for a refresh. Canon has said so, and we're expecting a first half announcement long before the Olympics. And so if you're interested in buying the Canon EOS R5, the Canon EOS R3, or the 1DX Mark III, you're kind of thinking like, yeah, maybe I should wait a few months just to see what Canon's coming out with. And I think that's what's got these numbers a little bit down, because people are waiting for something bigger. And when it comes to, well, Panasonic as well, people are expecting a refresh of the S1, the S1H. We're expecting a refresh of the G9 Mark II as well. So there's so many cameras out there that can be affecting Fujifilm, Panasonic, Canon, and that's why Sony's just running all over the place, because as far as the A9 III, that is rumored to be announced sometime later this year, maybe in October, and there are some rumors pointing to the A9 Mark II as well. but very little coming out. Sony's already produced a lot of cameras. They just announced the A7C II, the A7CR, still selling alongside the A7C. It's really hard to find a gap in Sony's lineup because they've got so much content. The only way I would see there's a gap is at that high end there, with the Nikon Z8, the Nikon Z9, the Canon EOS R5, and the refresh of those cameras. I think if Sony doesn't release the A9 II anytime soon, or the A9 III, then they're going to be forced to do so because they're going to be up against the competition in a hard place, not having anything that can compete against the Canon, the R5 Mark II, the Canon EOS R1, the R3, Nikon Z8, Z9, and that's without them refreshing their lineup. So I'm expecting some really impressive things to be coming out this year. But again, that sale on right now for the Canon EOS R5, and don't forget to use my links down below to order it from B&H. I do get a small percentage back, around 3%, but it really does help this channel grow. $800 off. I don't know if that sale ends tomorrow, ends tonight at midnight, or Tuesday, but it's on for Build Expo, and as soon as Build Expo is off, those deals are going to go. But it's not just the Canon EOS R5. The Sony a7 IV is on sale. We're seeing so many cameras. What B&H has on at Build Expo right now is better than, well, from what I saw last year at Black Friday. And if you're waiting for Black Friday to pick up some cameras or lenses or other accessories, then take a look at Build Expo right now, because I think you'd be challenged to find a better deal coming Black Friday. And Black Friday we might see similar deals, but $800 off on the Canon EOS R5. If you're kicking yourself for not purchasing it when it was on sale for $500 off with a free battery grip, don't hold back. Use my link right now, grab it from the description, copy it down from the screen here, and go ahead and purchase it, because $800 off, that's a really good deal. And if you want to stay up to date on all the latest camera gear news and rumors or sales figures, then go ahead and subscribe to this channel, but make sure you also choose all notifications, so that way you can stay informed as soon as I publish a new video. And for all the minor news and rumors out there, for all those news stories or pricing information that isn't quite big enough to have its own separate video, and yes, I did tweet about the Canon EOS R5, then go ahead and follow me on Twitter, formerly known as X, on X, formerly known as Twitter, because I'm always tweeting out information. I think I put out 2 tweets today, and yeah, some really incredible deals that come out, and I tweet those out. I rarely put them out on the channel because I'm only allowed basically 3 YouTube announcements, so I could put out 2 videos, 3 videos, 2 videos, and a community post or a poll, and then they stop sending out notifications. But that's it for now. Have yourself a great week, and we'll see you again soon.